Hello my lively lovelies and welcome to Alive with Aaliyah. We are continuing on with personalizing the MagShock Fold Go Wheelchair. Now if you haven't seen the earlier episode, I started off with doing some real basic stuff like putting a different footrest on, some handlebar cover type thing, a strap for carrying like a purse or a basket, and my little cane hook here. And I also talked about kind of my inspiration and some of the ideas I was having. So I got too busy actually testing out the MagShock chair. We took it on some hiking trails and to parks, and so I've just been all over the place, and that's been nice too because when I did this work before, my hands got very sore for a number of days, so it's been nice to give my hands a break. And now they're feeling a bit better, even though the rest of me is sore and exhausted from all of my adventuring, but that's okay. So I wanted to kind of get into the next phase of personalizing here, so I'm thinking of using this brown material here to do some armrest covers. And then I have this beautiful embossed, kind of like natural pale tan material that I'm thinking to cover the cushions in. And one of the things I love about the MagShock is that it's waterproof. So if you do decide to put covers on your chair, do keep in mind what kind of conditions it's going to be going through. I went ahead and put waterproof spray treatment on both of these earlier, and so it should be able to handle some moisture because I did that. And as always, be careful with any modifications you make to your mobility aids, just to make sure they're still functional, to make sure that they're safe, and make sure you're not voiding any warranties. And like I said in my last video, just because I do something here doesn't mean it's a good idea. I make mistakes. It happens. But I'm also really loving the creativity, so I'm willing to give it a go. Well, let's start off with the armrest cover. So my plan is, and we'll see how well that works, is to first cut this basically to size for one of the armrests. My scissors here. And this is a relatively thick material, so I want to go around and pre-punch sewing holes. And then go through with my heavy-duty waxy thread here and heavy-duty needle to sew it on. And I think it might be difficult here because I don't want it to sag in the middle, and I want the material to sort of form around these edges. So I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work out or not. I'm just going to give it a try and see how it goes.
So first I start by cutting the material and taking a break, but I'm working on getting it to size. So I decided to remove the armrest. I thought that would be easier for me. And here we have a closer look as I trim it all to size, and that really did help me. And I get to pre-punching, and there's my cat. She's so cute. Always interested in what I'm doing. So yeah, I pre-punched and sewed with that thick waxy thread and used it a lot like a drawstring to cinch the two ends to make them form a shape like the armrest. And there I just try to get it nice and tight. And I return the armrest, trying to tuck in the material.
It looks like I screwed it too tight and chipped off some of the paint, so watch out for that.
But it turned out pretty well. You can see some of the stitching underneath. That's okay. Surprise, time to do the other side. So I thought the method worked well, and I decided to repeat it. So here we go, all those little hole punches. Sewing it around. And then returning it. This side was only slightly trickier because of the joystick, but really it was fine. And I decided to mess with that side a little bit just to get it looking so much better.
So I think I'm going to repeat the method that I used on the armrest here on the seat. I'm going to remove the seat, turn it upside down, and cut out the material to shape, go around the edges, punch holes, and then stitch up the material around the cushion, and then return the cushion to where it was.
I start by removing the seat, and then I cleaned it up a little bit and made sure the material was cut to size, and then began with the pre-punching of the holes. And that certainly does tire out my hands. Oh my goodness. And then that's looking good, so I start sewing. And here's a better shot of the sewing so you can really get an idea. I really bunch it up here around the corners to make sure it's really tailor shaped there. Cat's helping. Then I tie up and tuck in the string with some excess and return the cushion. There's the underside. And there you go.
Well, I'm liking how the armrest covers and the seat cushion cover are coming out. I left some extra thread on the back so that I can remove the cushion without having to redo all the stitching. Kind of use it like a drawstring, do you know what I mean? So I like the idea of, for the backrest cushion, to have something that's removable as well. This is going to be kind of tricky, and I'm honestly not sure how I'm going to do it.
So there's the back piece ready to go. So first I have the front and back of the cover, and I'm going to pre-punch some sewing holes so that I can sew the two pieces together, which I'm doing here. And I do have the other piece under that, so that's why I can't see it. I take a lot of breaks, and I tried it on a million times to get the sizing right and then cut to shape. So that's something I kept repeating because it was really hard for me to smooth out the bumps. So I kept doing it over and over and over and taking breaks until I passed out.
Well, it's the next day, and I had to stop work because I kept passing out. And I've been just, I was really pushing it yesterday. I've had a very active weekend with going out on the trails and then working on this chair cover. And, it's really important to pace yourself. And I obviously didn't pace myself well. I kept working until I dropped. But this is actually really hard for me to work on this part because it's like involves being upright. And I don't want to just remove the backrest cushion to cover it, because I wanted to specifically work around these bars that are back here. So I do see that the cushion itself is has Velcro, but the Velcro is all the way through, so it's not, the cushion doesn't really show me where these bars are. And I don't know if you can actually see this. Why don't you just come with me? So I'm trying to form my cover around these bars. Oh no, that one's chipped. And this one. See, that's what I'm trying to do.
So I'm measuring a bunch, really trying to get the shape all nice and proper, taking plenty of breaks. I took off the cushion, get some more measuring in. I apologize, I did a bunch of work out of frame. I messed up on my camera location. So trying on and sizing again, which I just do over and over and over. So it's fine-tuning some of the cutting, and now it's time for the snaps. So I was finding out where to put the snaps, and now out of frame, I'm putting those snaps on. And here we go. Now you can see, got the little hole punch and everything, and then applying the snaps with a hammer and little tools. And I'm trying it on again, trying to make sure I get that all smoothed out, which was really challenging. Kept having little bumps. So I just keep trying to get it right. And here I go to trim out the excess to try to get the shape a little better. And working on those snaps some more. I had to remove some and put them in new locations. And I started with the top snaps and then worked my way down to try to make sure it was nice and tight. And I saved the bottom ones for last, but getting there. Trying it on again. All those snaps going and finally getting it, looks like. So I trim off the excess where I'd put the snaps, and now just to secure the bottom. And so instead of the snaps, I decided to use screw-in rivets, and I did that because I wanted something removable, but I didn't want to have to take it down and hammer in the snaps. I wanted something that I could really get the location right, so I only had to use the hole punch. And then now I'm just fine-tuning. I found a little bump, and I'm trying to smooth that out. And here we have the finished product.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on Alive with Aaliyah for part 2 of personalizing my new MagShock Fold Go Wheelchair. It turned out to be a little more difficult than I thought, but I think I learned a lot, and I'm inspired to do another cover, I think, and I'll try to implement some of the insights I gained from this first time around. But I think for my first attempt, it's certainly usable and workable, and I'm super amused by the fact that I used a vintage bike as my inspiration, because with all this leather look stuff and the embossed pattern here on the seats, I realized it's rather Western, so I think you're a little more like a horse. In the future, I think I'm going to do another one, no rush, and I do hope that you'll like and subscribe to find out what I'm up to, and please comment. Let me know any ideas or suggestions you may have, areas of room for improvement, or sharing about what you're up to and personalizing your mobility aid. As always, live in love with life.